Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here with me. I'm excited to be here. Happy Resurrection Sunday. Hey, everybody. My name is Teresa Horn, and this is the Kingdom Health Club. I'm excited you're here with me today. We're going to be talking about optimal, four components, four big blocks that will help you on your road to being healthy and strong. So we're going to get into it today. We're going to give you some practical examples starting your week, things that you're going to be able to do tonight to get you ready for tomorrow, which is going to be the first step on your road to being healthy and strong. So, hello, you are here in the right place, and I'm excited to get into it tonight. All right, so this is the Kingdom Health Show, and we are going to be we're launching a series of episodes that are going to provide you with tools to help you on your health journey, no matter where you are on that journey. The thing about health and are all of us having our own specific health journey and our health walk, it changes. You can't just start being healthy and start healthy habits, get these habits in place, and think that you're going to be able to do the same thing forever. That's not how it works. We change, life changes, the environments around us change, and as those things change, the choices we make about our health are going to change as well. So it's important that we have this interactive dialogue, that we're listening to our bodies, that we are paying attention to, how much we move, how we feel when we move. All of those things go into the decisions that we make, and they go into how our health outcomes are affected. So this isn't a one and done thing, it's a journey. And so we want to give you tools that will help you on your journey, not tools that'll help you only today, tools that will help you and you can go back to and you can change and you can respond to. Those are really the things that I want to be able to make available for you here at the Kingdom Health Club. So we're going to start with the four core principles. You have to have these in place to live in optimal health. Today, I actually got a chance to watch that Oprah special. I don't know how many of you have watched the Oprah special on, I don't even know the name of it, but shame is one of the topics in the special. And they're specifically talking about obesity being a disease and medications that are available to help us combat that disease. So there's a lot in that. It was interesting to see Oprah back in that format, that talk show format that was a lot like the show that I grew up watching in the 90s. And I guess in the 80s as well, right? So that was really interesting. But the big takeaway, and they just talked about it for a little bit, Oprah said that, you know, behavior management, and that was when they were referring to Weight Watchers, um, the eating and the medication, exercise, and lifestyle changes are all a part of her health journey. They're all a part of how we live healthy and strong. They're all a part of the way that we can be in optimal health. So, the four components I'm talking about tonight are really all a part of living in optimal health. And you can't have one without the other and think that you're going to be living in optimal health. So, we're going to go over what those four are, and I'm going to give you tips for each of those four areas for you to actually start doing tonight and tomorrow. So, the first, we kind of talked about it. We talk about the show, we talk about the Oprah show, is nutrition, right? So, when we think about the weight loss medication, when we think about weight loss surgery, we are usually putting them in the same boat as nutrition because it is we put it in that camp of the things we eat. Well, the thing about the medication and weight loss surgery, they actually also affect not only what we eat, but why we eat. So, although weight loss surgery and taking weight loss medications affect your food intake, it's not because it's because it affects the behavior around your food, the biology of why we eat food. The reasons we eat are multiple, and I'll do a show on that at a later date, because the reasons we eat are more than just physical hunger. There are many reasons that we eat, and when we are experiencing obesity, the one of the reasons we eat, or it could be several of the reasons we eat, are out of balance because our chemistry is telling us to eat outside of when we physically need food for energy. So when I talk about nutrition in the context of these four core concepts, I'm actually talking about how to understand what's healthy for your body, how to understand what you as a individual need to be nutritionally um, in a good place, the things you actually need, right? I'm talking about protein, carbs, healthy fats, um, and enough hydration, enough water for hydration. So that's really what we're talking about when we talk about nutrition. So often people will come to me and they'll be like, I want a meal plan, or, whatever. And meal plans can be helpful when you are creating that framework, when you're starting to understand what the things are that you need to eat. But what's more important is that you understand what your body needs to be healthy, that you actually understand how much protein do I need? How many carbohydrates do I need? How much fat is too much for me? How much sodium is too much for me? How much sugar is too much for my body? When do I feel the best? How much, water do I need to drink for me to be hydrated? Those are really the things that you need to understand for your individual nutrition. And all of these things that we're talking about, there is knowledge that we need to understand, because we're not all the same. The way that my husband responds to how much water he needs to drink is different than the way that I respond. We went to the movies yesterday and I ate popcorn, and there was a lot of salt on that, right? So, in response to that, I know that I need to be drinking even more water than I usually do so I can flush the sodium out of my system. I'm definitely retraining water, but you have to drink water, to flush water, to be able to well, for me, I need to drink a lot of water to get myself back in balance. That's something that I need to know for myself. So nutrition is one of those four core building blocks that we need to have in place. And as I was talking about other reasons we eat, actually, let's hop to exercise next, because that's pretty easy. Exercise is number two. So number one was nutrition. Number two is exercise. And one of the things about exercise is, I think most of us like a certain type of exercise over another, if we like exercise at all. I know I have many clients who don't want who don't want to do any type of exercise, but once we finally get people to move, they'll tend to be like, I like to lift weights, or I like to run. I have a lot of people who are, they're runners and that's all they want to do. Well, exercise needs to be balanced. So it needs to include strength training or resistance training. It needs to include cardiovascular exercise, and it needs to include mobility, stretching, things that help keep us flexible and mobile. Mobility, flexibility, all of those, and also balance, they all are in the same compartment. So our exercise needs to have all three of those. We can't just run and live in optimal health. We can't just lift weights, even if we lift weights fast, and be in optimal health. We can't just, stretch and do yoga and live in optimal health. We need to have a balance of all three of those. And what What one person needs is going to be different than the other person, but you need to have all three. They don't have to look the same. And these are it's so important that we understand that, because I think sometimes we are like, if I can't be a runner, or I don't want to run, so I can't exercise. There are so many different kinds of exercise. And we also need to understand it needs to be exercise. So I used to say movement, and thank you for the hearts out there. I used to say movement, and the reason that I lived in there, hey FY, the reason that I said movement is because I felt like there's so much stigma tied to that word of exercise. But the fact is that just because there's stigma around a word doesn't mean we should release that word, because the word exercise has value, and it actually gives a definition of what we need it to, right? Exercise has a purpose, it has a goal. Movement doesn't have to. There's a place for both of those. We want to have space for movement without a goal. Like, I want to be able to dance just because I want to dance, and have it not necessarily have a goal of getting my heart rate up. It can, dancing can be exercise, but it doesn't have to be. Gardening can be exercise, but it doesn't have to be. Exercise is exercise. It has a purpose, it has a goal, it has an outcome. When you go for a run, you're getting your heart rate up. That is the purpose. It doesn't have to be the purpose. Like, you can go for a run just for movement, just for fun. When we exercise, there is a purpose, there's a goal, there's a outcome that we're going after. So that's the difference. There's room for both of them, but we need to have exercise in our life. We need to have the exercise accomplish what it's setting out to accomplish. It doesn't have to be running to get your heart rate up, right? So it could be a hike, but that hike is intended to get your heart rate up. That is the goal of exercise. Exercise has a purpose, it has an outcome, it has an intention. So it's important that we let exercise be what it is, take away the stigma of it, because it has a very important purpose. And we're going to use the word exercise when we talk about that second pillar of things we need to have an optimal health. So that's number two. So we've got nutrition, we've got exercise, and then we've got recovery. Recovery is very important to optimize our nutrition and our exercise. If we are exercising and eating well, but not giving ourselves a chance to recover, then we're not going to live in optimal health. The time that our body repairs itself, the time that our body assimilates to the changes that we're making with our nutrition and our exercise, is when we are resting. That can be when we're sleeping, which is a huge part of recovery, but it could also be the days in between workouts, or other intentional kinds of recovery we might implement. And there's lots of those, and we'll do a show on that specifically. But it's important that we understand that recovery has a purpose, and we don't want to feel guilty about that time. It has to be intentional, and it's just as important as the exercise. If we don't recover well, we don't live well. It needs to be just as important. It needs to be balanced with everything else that we're doing. So sleeping, resting, just massage, foam rolling, spending time outside in fresh air. Those are all kinds of recovery that are all important and have a great deal of value. So sometimes I'll find that people feel guilt around giving themselves time to rest and recover. And there's a lot to unpack there, but we need to recover, and we need to recover well. And it needs to be just as high a priority as working out, as exercising. Recovery and exercise go hand in hand, because if we don't recover well, then we can't live well. Our body is designed to work and rest, so there needs to be both. So we've covered three. We've recovered nutrition, we have talked about exercise, and we've also talked about recovery. So before I go over the last step, oh, I said that I wanted to give you some things to start today that will help you with tomorrow. And one of the things I do on Sunday, today is Sunday, is I prep, make sure that I've done meal prep for the week. And so today is Easter, and I'm sure many of you boiled eggs, and you've got eggs now to use. So I wanted to share a stuffed egg recipe with you. Some people call them deviled eggs. We call them stuffed eggs here. And so I've got a recipe that I tried, and I should have done this in the kitchen and did the recipe with you. But we do a stuffed egg recipe, and we don't use mayonnaise. We don't use mayo. Instead of mayo, I use Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt. Plain Greek yogurt is a great substitute for sour cream and for mayo. And so in this recipe, we're using plain Greek yogurt instead of mayo. And that's twofold. You have less fat and you get more protein. So you want to have plain Greek yogurt. Important that it's plain, not vanilla. That would be disgusting. So plain Greek yogurt. And so for the recipe, you're going to need 1/4 cup of plain Greek yogurt. And this is for 6 boiled eggs. So if you had a dozen eggs, you would want to double this, but it's for 6 eggs. So, and I think I would assume everybody knows this, but I guess I'll start in the beginning. First, you want to boil the eggs. Like, so you want to boil the eggs and then, take the shells off, cut the eggs in half, and take the insides, the yolks, take them out, put them in a bowl. And then you want to take 1/4 cup of plain Greek yogurt. And I should have brought my stuff down here because the trick to this recipe for me is the mustard. You want to use dry mustard, not like the condiment mustard, but like dry mustard, the spice. So dry mustard. Um, so you want 1/4 of a teaspoon of mustard. You want 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, salt and pepper to salt and pepper to taste. Um, and I like a lot of pepper in mine, so and a little bit of salt. So you want to do that to taste, and then and that's it. So you paprika, mustard, salt and pepper, all in the plain Greek yogurt in the bowl with the yolks, and you mash it up. Yeah, like I'm doing it. Mash it up, and then you put it in the eggs, right? So you boil the eggs, you cut them in half, took out the yolks, put all the seasonings, everything in the bowl, smushed it up, mushed it around, and then you're going to put that back inside the eggs. After that's done, I also then like to sprinkle paprika on over the top for a visual effect. So that's a great snack for that. I would use that as a snack. Like I'm not eating that for a meal, but it would be a great snack. If 2 halves would be 1 whole egg. You could have a great little snack there. You could add like what would I add with that? I wouldn't actually probably add anything with that. But if you needed to add, because that's just a protein, um, you could add like cucumbers. That would be nice to add, or like sliced radishes. I've got one of my friends who's really into radishes right now, and they slice them really thin, like chips almost. So that might be fun to add with that. But that's my recipe for you for the week, a stuffed egg recipe. All right, so we're going to finish up. So we've talked about nutrition, we talked about exercise, we talked about recovery. Number 4 is soul care. And when we talk about soul care, I am talking about your mind, will, and emotions, making sure that you're healthy in that area as well. They're all a part of optimal health. When any of these things are out of balance, you're going to be out of balance. If your mind, will, and emotions are not being cared for, then you're going to be out of balance. And when I'm out of balance, when I know this of myself, when I'm out of balance in the area of soul care, it starts to show up in one of these physical areas. And when I talk about recovery, nutrition, exercise, I always, experience physical outcomes in those places when I'm out of balance in my mind, will, and emotions. So it's all a part of being healthy. So, talking about things I've been thinking about that I'm not processing well, emotions that I'm not processing well, neglecting my mm, emotions or my thought life, uh, having lapses of my will, not paying attention to disciplining my will. All of those things are a part of living in optimal health. So, those four components are really the basis of what we're talking about when we're living, when we refer to living in optimal health. You can pay attention to one of those places and have a time where you're focusing on one, but you can't neglect any of them to walk in optimal health. So the key is really to look at every area of your life and see what area that God is highlighting for you to focus on. Four areas, lots to unpack in each area. God isn't going to tell you you need to fix all of this right now. Like, we're going to go after all of it. What's more likely is God's going to highlight a certain area for you to start working on, and then gradually you'll move into another area, because that's just how life is. We have cycles and seasons of work. God's going to highlight where you need to begin. And then the thing for you to do is to walk into working on that place. There are certain things that we might want to work on. Like, we're like, I want to work on, I want to lose 20 pounds, whatever. But when you are seeking God about where He wants to highlight, where He wants to do the work of calling you into living in optimal health, it might not be losing 20 pounds. And that's something that I see a lot. I'll see people, have I want to do this, where there's a different area of health that's being highlighted, but our thinking is stuck on a certain outcome. Our thinking is stuck in a certain place where God is really highlighting something else to you, right? Like, I think I want to do this, or you're diverting a lot of attention to, you know, thinner thighs, where the truth is God was really wanting to highlight this coffee addiction, or addiction to some other distractive, pornography, or whatever, something else that's distracting, that is a different type of health that's in dysfunction, but it's all about part of the same thing. God's going to highlight where He wants to begin your health journey, and then it's up to you to be obedient and walking in wherever that place is. So we know that the four core components of optimal health are nutrition, exercise, recovery, soul care. Where is God highlighting that He wants to partner with you in bringing you into optimal health? And that's really the question. It's about, surrendering that whole health journey to God, and then asking Him, okay, where do we want to start? And then seeking Him on the direction of how do we want to start? Because if God's highlighting something to you, there's a strategy. There's always a strategy for us to, God is provision. So when we're asking questions, when we're seeking Him for guidance, there's always going to be a strategy. It's about, like, are we wanting to walk in that? Are we wanting to do the things that God is calling us to do? And that's how we get in optimal health. We take those steps. We seek. We follow. We are obedient and walking it out. And that's why it's a journey. Journeys um, have twists and turns, and excitement and adventure. It might not always seem fun, but that's what a journey is. So that's always why I refer to health as a health journey, because it's definitely going to be full of twists and turns and what I consider adventure. Sometimes I'll talk to people and they'll say, I had to stop working out for a season and now I'm starting back at the beginning. And to me, that's like exciting because, like, if you're starting at the beginning, you get to have a new adventure. So that's a good thing. Adventures are always fun. The thing is, you want to start your adventures with data, with a roadmap, with support. And that's what God is going to give you when you ask for it. And that support might be a coach, it might be a book, it could be whatever. But if you're asking the source, He's going to give you a resource. So that's what I wanted to share with you today on our first launching episode of the Kingdom Health Club. We've got so many things in this first season that I want to share with you. I wanted to start with the four main core components because we're going to be breaking those down and giving you tips and tools in each one of those areas to help you live healthy and strong. Again, my name is Teresa Horn. We will be back here next Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our next episode. And we're going to be breaking down one of the core components and giving you a little bit more direction on how you can start to walk that out in your own life. Thank you so much for joining. Remember, you want to hit subscribe so you don't miss anything because I'll be dropping more content throughout the week in the form of short form video. So hit subscribe, let your friends know, and join me here next Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Kingdom Health Club. I'll see you guys later.